Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. 4-year-old Istvan Reiner smiling for a studio portrait just before being taken to Auschwitz. His image, captured before the tragedy, serves as a reminder of the irreparable loss during the Holocaust, where millions of lives were devastated by a cruel regime. A woman from Santa Monica, California, posing under the pier around 1943. During the 1940s, Santa Monica was a popular coastal destination, and the beach was a leisure spot for both locals and tourists. Malcolm X being carried from the Audubon Ballroom to the hospital after he was attacked in 1965. Malcolm X, one of the most influential leaders of the civil rights movement in the United States, was attacked while giving a speech in New York. Roman Polanski kneeling at his front door, where the word pig was smeared in his wife Sharon Tate's blood after the Manson family murders in 1969. The image was taken on March 11, 1921, in the village of Blahoveshchenka, Zaporizhia region, Ukraine, during the famine that struck Soviet territory. The boy portrayed was among many who suffered deeply from extreme food shortages. Cheryl Ladd in the 1970s during one of her first moments of prominence as an actress. Ladd became famous for her role as Chris Monroe on the television series Charlie's Angels, which premiered in 1977. In 1912, Floyd Allen, patriarch of an influential Virginia family, was sentenced to 1 year in prison after being found guilty of assault. At the moment of sentencing, he and family members drew weapons inside the courtroom in an act of violent resistance. Tsar Nicholas II of Russia and his son, Tsarevich Alexei, sawing wood while imprisoned in 1917, a few months before their execution by the Bolsheviks. During the Middle Ages, some women deemed talkative or disobedient were forced to wear metal masks as a form of public punishment. These devices, known as scold's bridles, covered the face and sometimes included internal parts that were uncomfortable. Children wearing protective gas masks during World War II in England. These masks were distributed to civilians as a precaution against potential chemical attacks. A tattooing ceremony in Burma, now Myanmar, in the 1890s, where tattooing was viewed as an initiation rite, especially among the Shan states. Between 1947 and 1949, Martha Beck and Raymond Fernandez became known as a couple who deceived women through personal ads. The English national team performing a gesture required by local authorities before the match against Germany at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin in May 1938. The gesture was made before an audience of 110,000 people, including high-ranking members of the German government at the time. General Augusto Pinochet during the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the coup that overthrew Salvador Allende's democratically elected government in Chile in 1983. President George W. Bush aboard Air Force One after the September 11, 2001 attacks. On that day, the country was targeted by a series of coordinated terrorist attacks, resulting in significant losses and an immediate response from authorities. A young North Vietnamese soldier lighting a cigarette for an older man in a cemetery in Hanoi in 1970. Both had lost a leg and are seated near a sign reading, "Cemetery of 45 students who were victims of an attack on March 16, 1965. Boys bullying the Horace Baker family on August 30, 1963, after they became the first African-American family to move into the all-white Delmar Village neighborhood in Fulcroft, Pennsylvania. Navy Sergeant Frank Prater feeding an orphaned kitten during the Korean War. During the conflict, which lasted from 1950 to 1953, many soldiers found comfort in small acts of kindness. Children working in Pennsylvania coal mines in 1911, a common practice during the Industrial Revolution in the United States. The Night Witches, a group of fearless Russian female aviators who carried out nighttime attacks against enemy forces in 1941. These women flew light wooden and canvas planes, flying silently and dropping explosives with extreme precision. 3 children sifting sand at a gold mine on Dominion Creek, Yukon, in Alaska in 1898. During the late 19th century gold rush, thousands of people went to the Yukon seeking fortune in the region's gold mines. A flight aboard the Hindenburg airship in 1936, one of the largest and most luxurious airships ever built. The Hindenburg was an engineering marvel of its time, designed to provide a luxury travel experience through the skies. 2 Armenian militias fighting during the Armenian Genocide, perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire in 1915. People wearing frightening Halloween costumes, possibly photographed around 1920. The handmade outfits and rudimentary masks created a much darker atmosphere than modern costumes. The end of an era on November 17, 1922, when the last Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Mehmed VI, left Istanbul. After more than 600 years of rule, the empire was officially dissolved, marking the transition to the Republic of Turkey. Jean Bedel Bokassa during the coronation ceremony, in which he proclaimed himself emperor in the Central African Republic in 1977. The event was held with extreme luxury and was inspired by Napoleonic ceremonies featuring golden thrones and custom crowns. Kim Il-sung being unveiled as the new leader of North Korea, supported by Soviet military officers, in Pyongyang in 1945. After World War II, Korea was divided into occupation zones, with the Soviets in the north and the Americans in the south. Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator, on a sled in a photograph taken in 1937. Mussolini, known for his image of strength and authority, often took part in public events to reinforce his persona as a powerful, fearless leader. A firearms safety class for children at a school in Indiana in 1956. At that time, instruction on weapons and safety was more common in many rural areas of the United States. A worker being helped out of a 15-inch BL cannon after cleaning the interior of the barrel in 1914 at the Coventry Ordnance Works in England. During World War I, women took on essential industrial roles, replacing men who were on the front lines. Vincenzo Peruggia appears in court in Florence, Italy in 1914 after being captured for the theft of the Mona Lisa. The theft occurred on August 21, 1911, when he entered the Louvre, removed the painting from the wall unnoticed, and walked away with it hidden under his arm. A pyramid of German World War I helmets in New York in 1919. After the war, society was coping with the conflict's aftermath, and images like this were common, symbolizing both Germany's defeat and the Allies' relief at victory. Acrobats balancing atop the Empire State Building in 1934. During the construction of one of New York's most iconic landmarks, acrobats and workers performed several impressive feats. The construction of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco in 1935. The bridge, which became a global icon, was an impressive engineering feat, connecting San Francisco to Marin County to the north. A French woman welcoming an American soldier 2 days after the liberation of Strasbourg, France, on November 22, 1944. The Danish police uniforms in May 1945. During that time, Denmark was in the process of recovery after Nazi occupation during the World War II. The historic moment in 1967 when Kathrine Switzer faced resistance during the Boston Marathon, with some people trying to stop her from finishing the race. Two women working as ice delivery drivers, carrying a large block of ice in September 1918. At that time, ice was still delivered manually to homes before electric refrigerators became common. Luz Long and Jesse Owens talking during the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. Long, a German athlete, and Owens, an African-American sprinter, became friends during the competition after Long advised Owens on his long jump technique. The manufacturing of color televisions in the Soviet Union during the 1970s. One of the first public demonstrations of a computer mouse, graphical user interface, GUI, windowed computing, hypertext, and word processing held in 1968. The Sagrada Familia Church in Barcelona, Spain in 1905. Designed by architect Antoni Gaudí, construction began in 1882, and despite Gaudí dedicating much of his life to the project, the work continues to this day. The premiere of Citizen Kane in 1941, one of the most influential and acclaimed films in cinema history. Directed by Orson Welles, who also starred in the film, Citizen Kane was groundbreaking in both narrative and filmmaking technique. General George S. Patton's dog in mourning on the day of his master's death. Patton died in 1945 after a car accident, and the photograph captures the dog's deep sorrow as if it senses its owner's loss. A driver stopping to ask for directions from a highway patrol officer in New Mexico in 1939. At that time, car travel was becoming increasingly common in the United States, and roads were being expanded and improved. A pro-choice march in 1977, one of many protests during the women's reproductive rights movement. A war veteran selling matches on the street in Canterbury, Kent, England in 1930. After World War I, many veterans, especially those injured or traumatized, faced economic and social hardship. Children at Madonna House Nursery in New York City in 1941, enjoying a peaceful retreat to escape the city's intense summer heat. During the hot months, many urban children were sent to places like this. Kaiser Wilhelm II, Emperor of Germany, smoking a cigarette in 1913. During his reign, 1888 to 1918, Wilhelm II was a central figure in European politics and at the outset of World War I. A straightforward, to-the-point advertisement from 1946 New York. At that time, advertising was simple and effective, focusing on quickly conveying the message to the consumer. An Italian harpist entertaining local children on the street in 1877. In the late 19th century, street musicians commonly performed in city squares and streets, offering entertainment and often requesting donations from the audience. Two Manchester United fans in 1975 in the United Kingdom. The fans are wearing scarves in the club's colors, a common practice among soccer supporters at matches and sporting events. Frank Sinatra mixing drinks at the bar in his Palm Springs, California, home in 1965. At that time, Sinatra was one of the most iconic figures in music, known for his impressive career and sophisticated lifestyle. A person using a soda vending machine in Tashkent, Soviet Uzbekistan, in 1959. During that period, the use of vending machines was starting to gain popularity in various parts of the world. The winners of the Miss Correct Posture contest posing with their trophies and x-rays in 1956. The event awarded women based on body alignment, evaluating not only external appearance, but also bone posture. This 1883 photograph shows Pete Spence, an Old West outlaw, and is the only known image of him. Connected to the Morgan Earp killing case, Spence avoided conviction because his wife refused to testify. The photograph from September 9, 1937, shows the unusual results in an apple orchard where farmer A.L. Butts applied a special fertilizer. According to reports of the time, grasshoppers grew impressively, reaching up to 35 inches in length. Police officers from each allied nation of World War II, United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union, shaking hands and celebrating the end of the occupation of Austria in Vienna in 1945. Philips's in-car record player, an innovative device from the 1950s. This gadget allowed drivers to listen to vinyl records while in their cars, a novelty at the time and a breakthrough in mobile entertainment technology. A driving lesson using a Drivo trainer in the 1950s. Cars were becoming more affordable, and driving schools were growing in popularity to help motorists learn traffic rules and the skills needed to drive safely. Nursing students attending classes at Roosevelt Hospital in New York City in 1938. At that time, hospitals were expanding their training programs to meet the growing demand for qualified healthcare professionals. Elton John in his home in 1975 with his shoe collection. In the 1970s, Elton John was at the peak of his musical career, known for both his extraordinary talent and his bold, extravagant style. A newlywed couple in the 1940s posing beside a car with a sign reading, "Just married and watch Edmonton grow." A model trying on an electric spiral brassiere in Brussels on March 13, 1971. The bra, which claimed to develop and strengthen the bust, was designed to vibrate while worn during work. Two people riding horses in skeleton costumes for Halloween in the 1920s. Even the horses were draped in painted fabrics mimicking bones, creating a complete, eerie look. A child on the shoulders of a man dressed as Krampus during a parade in Mitterndorf, Austria on December 6, 1949. Krampus is a folkloric figure who accompanies St. Nicholas and represents punishment for disobedient children. Louis Coulon with his 11-foot beard, which he used as a resting spot for his cats, in 1904 in France. Coulon, known for his extraordinary beard, became a curious and captivating figure of the era. Charlie Chaplin meeting deafblind writer and activist Helen Keller in 1919. Helen Keller became a world-renowned figure for overcoming the challenges of her disability and becoming an advocate for people with disabilities. The first morning after Sweden switched from driving on the left side of the road to the right in 1967, the change was expected to improve traffic flow and reduce accidents. A man leaning against a car near the United States-Mexico border in 1929. The sign illustrates a strategy to avoid conflicts during border inspections. The scene reflects the tense atmosphere and the peaceful protection measures adopted by civilians. The Jersey Shore around 1905, with people enjoying a day at the beach. Images from that era capture the growing popularity of seaside vacations in the early 20th century, especially along the northern coasts of the United States. Harrison Ford working as a carpenter on a construction site in 1970 before becoming famous as an actor. People riding a Victorian roller coaster around 1900. At that time, roller coasters were gaining popularity as a form of entertainment at fairs and amusement parks. A bakery in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Soviet Union, in the 1950s. At that time, the Soviet Union was in a post-war period and faced economic challenges and resource shortages. Children at a French primary school drinking cider at lunch as part of a 1954 Life magazine feature. At the time, in many rural French schools, children brought a bottle of cider, often a lightly alcoholic variety, to accompany their meal. Operatic singer Christina Nilsson visiting her sister, who was still living as a farmer's wife, in Sweden in 1900. Nilsson was discovered for her musical talent and rose from poverty to become an internationally acclaimed artist. An Inuit man, wearing a parka made from animal gut and holding a string of fish in Nome, Alaska, between 1898 and 1900. These parkas were lightweight, water-resistant, and ideal for the Arctic climate, traditionally used by the region's native peoples. The photograph, taken around the 1870s, shows a rare visit by a photographer to a family on the American frontier. On such occasions, families often emptied their homes and displayed their belongings outdoors as proof of success in pioneer life. The early years of Nintendo in 1895, when the company was still dedicated exclusively to making handcrafted playing cards. Founded in Kyoto, Japan, Nintendo began as a manufacturer of Hanafuda, a traditional Japanese card game. London sanitation engineers overseeing the construction of a new sewer system after the Great Stink of 1858. Apple Macintosh units being assembled at the company's factory on January 25, 1984. This was a historic moment, as the Macintosh, released that same year, marked a significant milestone in personal computer design. Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion doing a headstand on Tel Aviv Beach in 1957. Ben-Gurion was known for his strong leadership in founding the State of Israel. A Red Army soldier petting a kitten during World War II. Even amid conflict, moments of affection like this were captured between combatants and the animals they encountered. The Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris around 1900, photographed by Roger Viollet. The image captures the majesty and grandeur of this famous Gothic cathedral, built between the 12th and 14th centuries. The legendary dogs Belka and Strelka, after successfully returning from an orbit around Earth on August 19, 1960, in the Soviet Union. They were the first living beings to return safely from an orbital flight aboard Sputnik 5. The Noonan family taking a car ride with their 14 children during the 1920s. Even with limited space, everyone managed to fit, reflecting the family spirit of the era. A mail carrier in the United States between 1920 and 1930, during a time when letters were the primary means of long-distance communication. With his bag full of mail and traditional uniform, he represented an essential service for daily life. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.